Hello once again and welcome back to another episode of Father and Sundays, the unexplainable guide to absolutely nothing. We're on episode 83.
83.
I know, and we are talking about camping.
Again.
Again. And it's the sequel, so it's Camping 2 the sequel, so stick around if you want to hear more. Hello again.
Hello.
Dad.
How are you?
Yeah, not but too bad, thank you for asking. I'm Connor, by the way.
Hello, Connor.
This is my voice.
It is your voice, isn't it?
Yep.
It's a very manly voice, isn't it?
And yep, thank you. And you're
I'm David.
That's your voice?
Yes, this is my voice, believe it or not, yeah.
Can people distinguish between the two?
I don't know. I think probably yes at the moment. I think as you get older, probably your voice will
when my voice
change
breaks?
slightly. Well, your voice has broken, or it does every now and again anyway. But
yep.
you do. I mean, we do sound a little bit alike, but you can definitely tell us apart when we do this sort of thing, can't
Should
you?
I try and do an impression of you?
Yeah, right.
We do sound... no.
What was that supposed to be?
We do sound relatively alike. No.
I sound quite posh then when you're doing that. A little bit. First of all, it was Michael Caine.
We do sound relatively alike. Now you do me.
You're only supposed to blow the bloody doors off. You went like that in the last bit.
All right, you do my voice.
Hello, my name's Connor. I've got a big beard. Hello. Everybody's wrong. What?
I think that's spot on.
Yeah, I thought so.
We've got a cat in the room today.
We have got a cat in the room.
What
I'd
say now, just in case something goes wrong.
Yeah. She's not got her pyjamas on. She hasn't worn her pyjamas now for a number of days. It looks like we're beyond that. And she's been outside as well. Had a little adventure out in the garden, running about and jumping over the other cat. She has, but now she's allowed to go out. So, you know.
Unaccompanied.
Although
normally we get Maui to go out with her.
And look after
her. But he's been asleep all day today.
He's a lazy, lazy boy. He doesn't do anything. What it be to be a cat, eh?
Yeah.
You getting excited?
What? Because of the England game?
Yep.
Thank you.
Because the England game was last week.
The England game was.
Didn't we do well?
Yes, but also didn't we do terribly?
Oh, it was terrible, wasn't it? I'm still upset about it.
And also that if potentially didn't we do well in that other game?
Why? When's the next game? Is it only at the end of the week?
Wouldn't it be during the week?
I don't know. I'd have to double check that.
Now.
Yeah, it might be next weekend. I don't know. I should know these things. It's terrible, isn't it? Anyway. So we're talking about
anything else
camping.
to talk about before we mention
camping? Well, there is something, actually, you're betting. Let's talk about your betting for one.
Not my betting habit.
The fact that I would say that you could do everybody a service during this World Cup by telling everybody what you're betting on so they can do the opposite.
Yeah.
Because it's disastrous at the moment, isn't it?
Yeah, I've not won a single one. I bet on USA to win.
Yep. But,
no, lost that one. Last night, I thought, I'm not going to bet on Argentina. But I thought, what I'm going to do is I'm going to bet on Argentina. I'm going to bet on Messi to have 4 shots on target or more. Didn't get that one either.
No. I'll tell you what was funny was when I listened back to the last podcast. The advert at the beginning was a betting advert, and it was like they were rubbing salt in the wounds of what you'd already done. Yeah. So, have you bet on the England game then, Connor?
Yes.
What have you bet?
I've got a few different bets.
Yeah.
Some of them are accumulators.
Right. Okay.
I've got one outright.
Should I be worried?
Yeah, because I've bet on England to win.
Can't
and I checked it this time. It is England
Senegal. No? Okay.
No, because if I put a bet on both of them, that just feels wrong, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And I could also put a bet on them to draw.
Okay. Well, fingers crossed we'll be smiling by the end of today and still smiling when this goes out, depending on whether we play another game. Right, anyway.
Nobody knows.
Nobody knows. We certainly don't. You wanted to talk about this subject again, didn't you?
Did I?
Yes.
I thought it was you.
No, you spoke about this. You
right.
said you wanted to... You felt you had more to talk about as far as camping was concerned.
I thought it was you that said that.
Oh no, this is going to be terrible then, isn't it?
Neither of us want to talk about this topic.
No, not at all. I hate it.
Hate it.
No, look. Last time.
I think first things first, we're talking about doing this again.
Yeah.
So yes, this
camping
is the second time we're doing camping as a podcast, and this is the 4th time we are recording a podcast about camping.
We covered that last time. We recorded at the very beginning, like 100 years ago when we started this, and we were just trying it out when we were seeing how it would work, and we'd done it twice, and we still weren't happy with it, so we shelved it and done a few other ones, and then came back to it, didn't we? When we were in a little bit more of a rhythm of what we were doing, and had a little bit, I would say, we'd worked out that we'd do it in the sections and talk about different things like that. So but last time we talked about it, I believe a lot of what we talked about was Snowdon, and when we camped at Snowdon, that was our most recent experience of camping. Wasn't it?
Yes.
Wasn't it? And we got...
Wasn't it?
A bit,
what team does he play for?
I don't know. It was very picturesque, the campsite, but the weather was flipping horrible.
Well, we have got a habit of going camping in October.
We have. It's not the best decisions we make, is it? We often warn not to. I hate to say it,
always
but
just
your
comes
mother
to it
always says,
we basically make it
summer?
we basically make it all the way through the year and go, we haven't been on holiday.
It is like that though, isn't it?
Go, well,
so
we've
got a few
camping?
days you've got to book. Okay,
you did say you didn't want. You said about why don't we stay in like a hostel or a hotel or something?
Well, okay.
And I very much wanted to.
So last time we went camping, we climbed Snowdon. We got absolutely battered.
We might have to pause
climbing Snowdon
in a moment.
Just talk amongst yourselves for a little while. Hang on a second.
Apologies about the quick break there.
No, it's quite all right. You're okay. I managed to get a little Viennese whirlwind there, and then I've got a cup of tea as well.
Yeah, so Mum had been out shopping. She's come back.
For Viennese Wells. I'd send her out purely to get Viennese Wells for us.
And she was in this room, locked in this room, so she wanted to get out, so we had to let her out. We also helped Mum put the shopping away. Dad ate a Viennese Well.
Yep.
I had a chocolate digestive. You had a chocolate digestive too, which shows that you've had two things.
Hello, I'm not allowed to eat any more biscuits while we record.
Yeah, I've told him he can't eat whilst we record, because otherwise he's a loud eater anyway.
Right. Anyway, where were we?
So you were saying about we got absolutely battered when we went to Lake District.
When we went to Snowdon, we got absolutely battered by the weather.
Anymore.
No, and all the elements as we went up the mountain, all the rest of it. Right. So that was not that long ago, so it was still fairly fresh in my memory. So when we said about doing the next one, because we're trying to do these 3 peaks, aren't we? We incorporate the camping now.
Just not in the challenge, because we're going way over the time.
24 years we're going to take to do. So we're going to the Lake District, to Scarford Pike.
Might be able to do 24 months. No, got over that.
It's already gone.
Yeah.
Anyway, as that happened, and as we started planning it, and as I looked at the weather, I started remembering. I'd kept getting flashbacks of the campsite in Snowdon, where I did enjoy it, but it was very wet at the time of year, and we had a bit of a break one of the days where we managed to do some other stuff, but climbing the mountain was quite hard because of the elements as well. So
all those elephants up there.
You said that last time, didn't you? I remember that. Anyway, so I started looking, and then your mum got involved. We started looking at like maybe even sort of, we went to look B&Bs.
This is now Lake District.
That's when we were planning for the Lake District, B&Bs rather than camping. Then it got to, we could do a couple of days camping and then the B&B. And my idea was that once we'd climbed the mountain, to have a nice bed to sleep in and to be able to get showered or a bath or be in the warm would sounded really good. So I was thinking, a little bit of a combo of it.
And I said no.
And you said no. And you
and
then I was a little bit sad about that, because we'd even talked about they have like wigwams and little.
The whole time it was like, I want to go camping, and we were like, yeah, let's go camping. It was only when it kind of got mentioned that we could do other stuff. I was like, oh no, I kind of want, the whole thing is going out camping and being outside.
Well, yeah, and because I am who I am, I said, okay then, so we're going camping. So,
but then there was the question of which tent do we take?
Yes, then we were talking about whether we should, because we were going to go in one of our cars. So it was like, could we load everything in there, because we got quite a lot of stuff. And then we talked about a smaller one, and you said No, we have to take a big...
I didn't want to have to spend my entire time hunched over.
Right.
Even sitting down, I would have to be hunched over.
Okay.
So I thought, in our tent, we can stand up in it. Only in the centre, but we can stand up if needed.
I conceded to all these things, and we ended up travelling a long way, isn't it? It was far longer than we...
Yeah, it was about 6-7 hours.
Yeah. Rather challenging as well when we got up there, but again, what an absolutely beautiful campsite. It was a National Trust campsite.
Yep.
Right on the doorstep of Scarfell Pike.
At the foot of the mountain, wasn't it?
At the foot of the mountain. So that's what appealed to us, because we thought, actually, at least...
Not even the travel to get to where we start.
No,
literally start from our tent.
Well, yeah, quite. Yeah, it was literally, you just walked across
because
the field.
Because navigating the roads around the area, I mean, you did it, I didn't do it, really. No. I drove to the pub once.
Yeah.
Navigating the roads around there was...
It was
hideous.
Mental.
So, where we could not do it potentially for a day, that was better.
The bit that got me was that we were only 20 miles away from the campsite, and it was still saying our ETA was about an hour and something. And I'm thinking, that can't be right. But it was, because as soon as you got nearer to it, we were right in the Peak District then. The Lake District then.
District.
And the roads,
other districts are available.
Spent a lot of time slowing down, going into passing places and all the rest of it. But it was worth it when we got there. Yeah. I kind of repeated myself there. Yeah. I did. I looked like I was
all the rest of it. All
the rest of it. But one of the things that before we left that concerned me was when your mother said, "Don't do anything stupid. And if he does something stupid, don't do anything stupid to go after him." Now,
it wasn't so much of if he does anything stupid, don't do something stupid. It's more like, don't do something stupid for the sake of me. So, like, for example, if I slipped...
No, this is exactly what I mean. What am I supposed to do that people are worried about? Am I that cavalier with the way I do things?
Well, so, for example,
right.
If I was to slip down some rocks...
Yeah.
I could foresee you, rather than seeing if we can get help and get me up, you would go, right, I'll slide down, and then what I'll come down is you can stand on my hands and stand on my shoulders and get back up.
Stand on my hands? How's that going to help? It's just going to hurt my hands. Oh, I see what you mean.
Like cupping them and then...
Cupping?
Yeah. And then get me back up again, but then you'd just be stuck down there. And also potentially hurt yourself, and we'll both be stuck. Like, I could foresee the fact of... where you are a dad and your priority a lot of the time is you'll do anything. Oh, Connor's not safe, I'll make sure Connor... You do it for the girls as well. Like, if they look like they're in danger, you'd quickly try and put yourself in danger before them. But our point
an automatic
was...
response to being a father, then. That's what you're talking about.
Our point was I'm an adult now. I kind of get you doing that when we were younger, but I can... look after myself.
It has been brought up. I've just thought of it, actually. It was brought up when I did argue this point, that we went for my 50th birthday, we went to the Lee Valley kayaking, canoeing. It was the Olympic Centre, wasn't it, that they did a lot of that. And it's quite full on. And we were both in this thing called a hot dog, which is just basically a kayak, really, but more enclosed. And it was proper hard to stay up, and you had all the rapids and that, all man-made, but all rapids, and we went under quite a few times, didn't we?
Yes, we did.
And one of those times, my immediate thought when I go under the water is, where's Connor, is he all right? And one of the times I had the rope of the boat that we were in wrapped around my neck, but I was still trying to pull myself out of the water to see if you were okay, so that everything was all right.
In the grand scheme of things, and I don't mean this in a rude way, but I'm the stronger swimmer.
Well, yeah.
So in that kind of situation, you should be looking out for yourself more than me.
Anyway, right. So
we had to jump into those rapids. Do you remember we had to jump into those rapids just to prove that we could swim?
Yeah,
out of them. Without a boat. That was mental, just jumping into rapids.
It was, yeah. That whole day was... There's pictures of us afterwards.
We nearly died, I'm sure.
We did nearly die. She nearly killed me for my 50th birthday.
We wouldn't have died.
There's photos of us in our normal Wetherspoons afterwards, and we look absolutely shattered. We look absolutely...
Seriously,
I swallowed so much of that water.
The amount of water I inhaled, I was going to say. But anyway...
That's not camping, no, is it?
There's not camping.
But my point being was that we go on these things, and... even though you walk up, we're not talking about scaling the side of a mountain here when we do that, but we're talking about walking up it. I get these little messages sort of, be careful, make sure you don't do anything stupid. And it just makes me think that maybe I do lots of stupid things all the time.
Yeah.
Sorry, there was a bit of a pause there. I didn't like that. So the camping side of it.
But there was also, just that river was meant to cross as well. But we are talking about camping. So
we'll come on to that, because part of the camping was the climbing of the mountain and that. We'll talk about that.
But we were also talking about the weather. And the fact that the weather, for things like the river, did bring them up the levels rose a huge amount. So
I think we pitched the tent. Again, there wasn't many people around, but a bit more than normal. And that was on the whatever night, Wednesday night, Tuesday night, maybe it might have been.
I think it was Tuesday.
Tuesday night. And I went and looked at the weather, and the weather said it wasn't going to be good. Fact check. In last week's episode, Urban Myths, we discussed the real identity of the artist Banksy, and I suggest that the person would have to have access to ladders and spray pants. Obviously, I meant spray paints, not pants. As far as I know, spray pants aren't something that exists, which I think we'd all agree is a good thing. Fact check.
So we're in the Lake District, and we're camping. We've determined this already.
Yep.
You did check the weather and you said it was going to be horrendous, but there was also something in terms of when we were actually pitching the tent as well. Because one thing is you went, should we pitch it here or should we pitch it here? One was like clearing and stuff like that, and one had quite a bit of grass. And I went, let's do it on the bit of grass, because the bit that was all clear just was a pile of rocks. Right. So you did want to pitch it on a pile of rocks, which I was a bit confused by.
Oh, you either want luxury and stay in a hotel, or you go camping.
On a pile of rocks.
Yeah.
There was a lot of rocks there, wasn't there?
There was a lot of rocks. It was very rocky.
Very rocky.
Yes.
But there was another thing when we were putting up the tent, wasn't there?
There was indeed, yeah. I mean, we should remember how to put this tent up. We've had it for a fair few years now. We've put it up a number of times. I think we even videoed ourselves putting it up.
We've had it for so many years, this tent, actually.
Yeah. And we started putting the tent up. We're very tired from the drive. It's been a long day. The weather is looking a bit suspect. We weren't sure exactly when the rain was going to start kicking in. So we're kind of rushing to put it up, aren't we? Mm. And as we were putting it up, the poles that go through started to crack and break.
Yeah, I think two of them did.
Two of them. And I'm thinking, as we're doing them, and you have to really bend them, don't you? That's why they perish. And there was no sort of... Didn't seem
it
any
bent
sort
easier,
of...
though. It bent easier.
It did bend easier, yeah, in a right angle. But we put it... As we're putting it up, I'm thinking... No, I'm going to have to go to this woman in the shop, and I'm going to say, have you got any of these, there was these cabins or things like that, have you got anything available? Because I did think, because we took the pop-up tent that I used for when I went for a weekend when I was running, and the one we talked about before when the thunderstorm, lightning, yeah. And we took that because you had the idea that we might put that up in the tent, so it was even drier, but... Anyway, we managed to get the tent up in the end, and when we put all the guide ropes out, it kind of gave it a bit of stability, but it still isn't quite right, is it?
I think when we actually took the tent apart again, they kind of properly went.
They properly went, yeah. But got the tent up, got inside it. I think we might have gone and had a chat to the woman. We were just kind of trying to find our bearings. There was no signal, was there again?
Was it raining at this point?
Not at that point, it wasn't, no. And we walked down to she said you could get a signal, you have to walk down to, what did she call it?
She called it the 4G bridge.
4G bridge.
It's basically a bridge that you just had like one bar of signal on.
Exactly. So we had to stand down there for a little while to make sure that everybody knew we were safe and that we were okay. But again, I do get what you mean about camping, because the scenery and that, you wouldn't necessarily, I know you can stay in places and the scenery's all around you, but you get a real feel for the whole thing.
It's the closest to sleeping under the stars, whilst also being whilst being completely covered and safe-ish from the weather and stuff like that.
Well, we talked about being good swimmers, didn't we? So
yeah.
But they were very good. National Trust place. Again, another place I'd recommend.
But they put the weather on for the mountain.
They did, and they were
the climb.
spot on, weren't they? And
They
if
were.
you bear in mind, you watch weather forecasts all the time, and it's not always that accurate. They said to us, or it said, that I think the Wednesday was going to be raining all day, and the Thursday was going to be clear. And it was spot on,
And it
wasn't
started raining in the night. We woke up and we were completely dry inside our pod. And then we decided to get up and we got out of the tent. Well, I went out the tent to go to the toilet. And also I went and bought some sausages and bacon in the torrential rain. But we came out of the pod in the tent where it was completely dry. And it wasn't dry inside the tent, was it?
No.
Everything was wet.
I think to say that it's a sad time for us, because we've got to say... we feel that the tent may have passed now, and it may be the last holiday we had with that tent. Again,
are we going to have to burn that tent?
I think I think that's legally what you need to do. You
cremate
have to,
it.
Yeah, you have to put it. It's like a Viking ceremony sort of thing. So we live near the coast.
Is it safe to burn like those nylon top?
Oh, who cares? It'll be out at sea.
Yeah,
yeah, we won't be able to inhale it. Yeah.
Oh, we're going to do it as like a Viking, shoot an arrow, a flaming arrow.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. Yeah. So, wait. It's still not going to have any more holes in it, is it? It's probably in quite good condition. But when you say about looking at stars, unfortunately, the tent, every time we get that tent out, I notice more holes in the top of it. And
we always forget to mend them as well.
We do. And I must admit, when you say it rained, it properly rained, and then it rained all the next day.
And like we said, we were at the foot of the mountain, but we were already at quite high elevation.
Yeah, we were, exactly, yeah. And the tent basically filled up, didn't it, at times?
Yeah, we were on a slight slope as well, weren't we?
We were on a slight slope. Which done it again, didn't we?
We had a deep end.
Deep end, yeah. You could go and just do a few lengths in that for exercise in the morning. Didn't bother going to the showers. We just sat in that and sort of sorted ourselves out, if you pardon the expression.
What did we do towards the end of the? So like basically it rained the whole next day.
Yeah.
And we were right. What we're going to do, and it actually calmed down towards the evening. So what we did is we tried to dry it up as much as possible. After going around a couple of villages and stuff like that and towns, we had to wander around.
Yeah, that was all right.
Which was a really nice day actually.
Yeah, it was a beautiful
weather
place
up
anyway. So yeah,
a bit. But we went and had to wander around. We went back to tent, and obviously there was still a deep end. So what we decided to do, we took down the pod, because there was internal pods, wasn't there? We took down a pod, and you went and put that as well as a bunch of towels.
I went and spoke to the lady in the shop. I didn't actually tell her. I think she thought that I just wanted to dry some towels off, but I was gauging what I could and couldn't put in the big tumble dryers.
Yeah, big tumble dryers there.
And surprisingly, you can put quite a lot in those tumble dryers, because they had a wet room, didn't they? Or not a wet room. It's not called a wet room. It's a dry room. Funny enough, it's the opposite to what I just said then. So you went in there. God, it stunk. She did tell me it was going to stink in there, because everybody puts their boots in there.
Like dog beds and stuff.
But it was good. It was good, though. But obviously you have to leave it overnight and all the rest of it, because we had a towel that didn't matter what we did with it, it was still wet.
I'm sure it's still wet.
It's still wet now. But you were in charge of, and there's videos of you mopping up all the water in the tent.
So
and
I took off my shoes and socks.
This is the times when you sit there and you think, why am I doing this? I suggested we stayed in a B&B. We could have been in it. We didn't have to bother with that. But and then I'm standing in it's not a laundromat, but there was all sinks. It was really nice, all done nice. And people coming in and washing their cups and saucers, and I'm thinking, oh, please don't look what I've put in this tumble dryer, because on the outside of it had sort of things not to put in it. I think the only thing we didn't put in it, that it said not to put in it, we didn't put our boots in there.
We put the tent in there, basically.
We put basically most of the tent in there. But it worked, didn't it?
It did work. It came out really dry, and because part of the problem is the water had already soaked through a lot of it, which meant that when more water hit, it just soaked through again, and there was loads of water on the bottom. It made its way underneath the pod.
Oh yeah, underneath the.
So whatever you put on the floor got wet. So we managed to. So you took up the pod. I walked around with barefoot with a towel underneath my feet and tried to wipe it up as much as I could. It rained again, so it did drip down, but we still wiped it up again. Basically, we're trying to get it, because we knew the weather wasn't going to be as bad the next day. It's going to rain potentially a bit, but not as much.
No.
And we dried it up. Whilst you were gone, I also, because we had the deep end, didn't we?
Yeah.
When we're not even joking in the fact there was 2 huge puddles.
Yeah.
In the end, because the sides hook up, don't they? So they hold the water in.
Yeah.
When you were gone, I got my bottle of Fanta from the day before. I already finished it, and I was sucking up the water and putting it into a bucket, and I filled up a bucket, didn't I, with the water that was at the end. And then we got rid of that. I basically waited until you got back to show you the bucket. But my feet were freezing because I was also waiting for towels to dry my feet so I could put socks back on. And yeah.
And again, we talk about it, and all right, we laugh. We did laugh about it because the fact that it was successful, we managed to dry off a lot of stuff and all the rest of it. But it was quiet. You go to bed and you basically got about an inch of your face showing out of everything.
That was another problem. We had to put everything in bin bags, didn't we? Literally everything in the entire tent was in bin bags. And we went out. So in the morning we got out of the pod. The pod was dry. We went out. I went on the search for sausages and bacon, which were amazing.
They were locally
sourced ones. They were genuinely some of the best ones I've had. And we then just ate, was it like 4 rashers of bacon each and then like 6 sausages?
Food, yeah, as per normal.
Just that. I loved it. It was great. I think you felt a bit rough after all of it.
Well, just
a lot of protein.
A bit of protein, yeah. I mean, it was just the fact that you make sure you eat it all, don't you?
And we probably shouldn't, but we did cook it inside the tent.
Yeah, clearly with messages actually on the tent, sewn into the tent saying, do not do this.
It's because it was really wet.
Oh, yeah. Why would you want to cook outside?
It would have just gone out.
The only thing that always makes me laugh when you do that is from outside, because there were other people camping there. I'm sure they do similar things, but from the outside, you'd be able to see the flame and everything.
Well, we've gone camping with a heater before.
Oh, we have. That was ridiculously dangerous.
Yeah,
never in a million years. We had it. We had our pod, and it was sitting in the doorway of a pod, pumping heat into our pod. That was so bad doing that.
Yeah. But anyway, before we went out, we thought, right, let's just go quickly back into the pod to get out. So I opened it up and the water had fallen down onto my bed, hadn't it? And my pillow was fine because I took a pillow, but my 2 sleeping bags I had were completely soaked through, so they had to go into the tumble dryer as well. But then I got into them after they come out the tumble dryer, and wow, they were warm.
Yeah, but I guess what happened as well was the rain.
And didn't we say about putting all our stuff in the tumble dryer basically the night before we went to bed as well?
Just before, yeah. Every night, just doing that. It's like a hot water bowl, but the nights where it rained, it was cold, but it wasn't freezing cold. But as soon as we got to the day that we actually climbed Scarfell Pike, which was a absolutely incredible day.
It was really clear, really nice.
It was clear. So then it was freezing cold. And it's like I had a sleeping bag, and then I got in another sleeping bag while still in my sleeping bag. And you still had all your clothes on and everything. It was bitterly cold. There's a picture of you that I took, and you can just see your eyes and that.
Yeah.
And you've got so much stuff on.
You know when you got the ropes, you pull the ropes.
Pull it all so you can just about.
But that was the thing. And you went into 2 sleeping bags that night, and I thought, oh, that's a great idea because I was really cold. So we decided to do that the following night, and actually that night was quite warm, and I got too hot.
Yeah.
That did not sleep well a single night.
No, it was.
Especially the first night. The first
sleep
night,
deprivation.
wow.
Especially when you know you've got to do something like we had to do.
Well, especially more so, I thought, because you climb up, you come back down again, you can just chill. It was to drive home. I was thinking about. I was like, I've got to keep my eyes open for it. Like, you can't just stop on a motorway.
No. So yeah, we knew we had that to come, so that was going to be a bit of a difficult one anyway.
So like we said, it was like a 7-hour drive back.
But then the day, I think it was the Thursday that we climbed, incredible. I know this is why we go camping. We go camping to these particular places to then do these climbs. But like you said, we were literally on the doorstep of it, and the route started from, as I say, 100 yards from where we were camped was where the route started. Yeah. And I must admit, we had like our rucksacks on, or bags on our backs with stuff in, all stuff we'd gone and bought for supplies. And we were dressed to climb, so we had coats, fleeces, shirts, I might have even had a base layer on.
Yeah, I had leggings and a base layer on, and then jeans on top. I think I bought trousers on top of that.
And as we were climbing up there, and this always does my head in, as we started to climb, and it's quite, you start, and it already is quite a climb.
Man, and that climb is hard.
It was, I think it's the most difficult out of the three.
It's just because
Ben Nevis Snowdon, that's the one.
It's consistently steep.
Oh, we took pictures of how steep it was when you look down.
Yeah, but you fell over on the way back down, didn't you?
Oh, I did, yeah.
None in your bum.
We were literally
really close to the bottom as well.
We were a few hundred yards from the bottom, just about to go through a gate to go down.
We'd already passed the
treacherous stream.
The treacherous river because it's a waterfall, isn't it?
Yeah.
You basically walk across a waterfall.
Yeah.
You were kind of, when we went out, the water was harsh, but not quite as harsh. On the way back, it seemed to have got worse.
It had got worse. I think even though the weather was better, I think it had started running off the fields and the mountains anyway.
Yeah.
That's a point.
Literally right on the edge
of the waterfall. I was the first one across that, and it wasn't. I mean, it was very fast running.
That's what Mum said. Don't do anything stupid.
Yeah, for the point of, you didn't want to, because it was deep in places. You didn't want to fall in, because then that would have ruined the whole thing, because you'd have been freezing cold, and then you've had to walk with, straight away.
Potentially would have walked back.
Yeah, we'd have had to start all over again and gone and got sorted. So there was a lot of thought behind which stones to try and step on and jump across.
Whether they'd be wobbly.
But then you start overthinking it. And there was a point, and I think you videoed me, and it looks like I'm buffering, because I just suddenly stop and I don't move for quite some time.
We decided.
Then I'm starting to think, can I do this? Can I actually get across this without going in?
Because we spoke about actually on the way down. Because when you're making your way down, it's basically like some really dodgy steps, but your mind works so quickly to work out, right, this is where this foot's going to go now. This foot's going to go here. Now this foot's going to go here, and you work so quickly. But as soon as you start thinking about where you're putting your feet, you start to be hesitant, and it actually gets quite panicky. Because you do have to think about where you're putting your feet with that one. My foot did get slightly wet when we went across those rocks on the way there, but that was it. I didn't manage to survive it.
But it was. I'd done it before, but my memory of it was very, very misty when I did it before, and we were doing the 24-hour one, so everybody was so shattered.
There was a bloke just watching us, wasn't there? Sorry, when we crossed the river, there was a bloke just watching us on the other side, laughing
at us. Yeah, I know. But it was a really difficult climb, wasn't it? It was very, very hard, because most of a Scafell Pike is loose stone or stone, so there's no give, and sometimes you're walking up where the stones are moving as you're walking on them. It's like walking in sand, isn't it? It's like, huh?
It was freezing at the top.
And by the time, and that's the thing as well, we were absolutely sweating at the beginning, and we both took our jackets off, and we just... And then you get to a point where you think, well, am I cold or am I too hot? And then once we got to the very top and sat at the very peak of it, very, very cool. We were told I read that there was ravens that nest up the top there, and there was one sitting there on the top of the rocks, wasn't there?
Yeah.
And flew in front of us. It looked really cool. But we sat on the top, but you couldn't sit there for too long, because you needed gloves on, and that it was very, very cold by that time.
If you wanna see a picture of us at the top, we have actually got a picture on our Instagram and our Facebook and our Twitter at the moment.
Yes, that's true, because we used it as part of the adventure one that we did last.
From the when this goes out, it'll be the week before.
Yeah, a couple of weeks ago. So but we're looking to do Ben Nevis, but again, Ben Nevis will probably camp.
Yeah,
and we'll do exactly the same.
Maybe we'll have a new tent by that point.
Maybe we will. Who knows? One without any holes in it.
Sure. I'm trying to think about what I want to do next. I would quite like to listen to something, maybe a song.
Oh, that's good. Good that's what you want to do, because that's what I've done. I've written a song. About...
You're struggling to speak. Your mouth's dry, isn't it?
It's because I've ate another digestive biscuit.
Yeah, I told you your mouth goes dry.
And I've done the stupid schoolboy error of already drinking my tea.
Yeah, I mentioned it to you. I said...
I know. I'll never learn. Anyway, and another reason, another thing where I don't know what I'm talking about now, but
this song.
To never learn about something, that's quite apt when we talk about camping. And I've written a song about how much I love camping. It's called I Love Camping.
Sitting in our tents and the wind is blowing. Put on extra layers but I'm still cold. This is what you get for camping in winter. This is what occurs when ignoring what you're told. Forecast for tonight said thunder and lightning. I think I can hear the sound of rain. Won't be long before we hear the drip of water. Why do we do this? We must be insane. Drip drop, water's coming through. Drip drop, what we're gonna do? Drip drop, it's gone beyond a joke. Drip drop, you might just need a boat. Everything is soaked, it's just like Atlantis. Is that my airbed floating by? Can't stop poking the growing puddles. Do it anymore and I might just cry. It's getting even worse, especially the deep end. Feels like I should have worn some trunks. Corners catching fish in the sleeping quarters. I'm getting cold and a case of the grumps. Drip drop, water's coming through. Drip drop, what we're gonna do? Drip drop, the water level's grown. Drip drop, let's just go back home.
Game time.
Woohoo! So we're going to be playing a game now.
Are we?
Yes,
What
but
did you think of the song?
That's not what I was going to say. This is the second time we tried to record this bit. First off, I want to say it was a lovely song.
Did you enjoy
Drip,
it?
drop.
Drip, drop. Yeah,
Yep, that's
lovely.
how it
Yeah,
went.
you'll be singing that.
Yep.
All
I
over
keep
the-
singing the Urban Myths one, I won't lie.
Oh, will it? Oh, do you?
Yeah.
Oh, I can't even speak at the moment. Right.
Urban Myth.
Right.
So, normally it's me that does the quizzes, isn't it? For
No.
you. So you're
No,
doing
it's
it.
never that. It used to be that, but
But you got really angry.
no. Well, only because it was ridiculous. What you did, I can remember one in particular. Animal versus. Well, it wasn't even animal versus animal, was it? Because it was all a nonsense. Anyway, let's not. Because you were
That's
you
your
were very
catchphrase, it's all a
angry
nonsense.
last week. You were very, very angry.
Yes,
And
because your
you're a
quiz was
little-
ridiculous.
So I've thought about that with this quiz, and this is. We talked about camping last time, and one of the things with the quiz was camping stories. I told you camping stories, and you had to guess:
Are they true or false?
are they true or false? Play the sting.
Camping stories, are they true or false? Camping stories, are they true or false?
Wow, I love that sting, and I think it's loads better than the previous one that we had for camping stories.
It is, loads. I've really worked on this time. It's recycled.
You've completely reworked it, haven't you?
I have completely reworked it. Okay.
It's like a remastered album.
It is. You can really hear the difference digitally.
Digitally remastered for
Exactly.
the a pleasure of your ears.
Yes. Okay.
Yes.
Are you ready for this? Yes.
Yes, please.
Okay. So this is quite simple. I know you got a little bit confused last week when I added an extra layer in, which upset you. This is a basically
Because it was ridiculous.
All you've got to tell me is it true or is it false? Did this actually happen, or have I made it up?
Okay.
Okay.
Like camping stories, are they true or false?
Exactly.
2.
So you ready?
Yep.
Number 1. Whilst on a family camping holiday in Wales, I had to share a sleeping compartment with my elderly granddad. I didn't sleep well during our stay and put it down to the fact that my granddad was extremely fidgety, snored, and would roll over and push me off the airbed numerous times throughout the night. On packing up the tent, however, we discovered that our particular part of the tent, and no others, was on top of a rabbit warren with tunnels and bumps galore.
Now, this one, so I have heard a story of, and it might have been in the camping stories before, where you pitched a tent on molehills, didn't you? And actually, we did it in Snowdon. We pitched a tent on some molehills.
Right.
So, I'm going to go for this one being false.
You think this is false?
Yeah, because it wasn't rabbits.
Oh, that's annoying. Yes, it is false because it was actually molehills.
Yeah.
How do you know that? I don't remember telling you that.
Nanny Joyce has laughed about it in the past. Because when we went to Snowdon, we pitched on some molehills, and you went, "Oh, Nanny Joyce will find this funny." And I think you even sent her a message and sent a picture to her.
I forget about these things. That's being old for you. Basically, when we talk about the sleeping compartments in the tent that we had at that time, which was a big canvas tent.
Hang on, I'd just like to clarify: is this one? Was all the other parts true?
Everything was true. It just wasn't a rabbit warren.
No, this is where your quizzes get ridiculous. This is where your quizzes get ridiculous because it's like going, no, it's actually false because this all happened, but his name was actually.
It was actually a Tuesday.
Yeah, it was actually a Tuesday, not a Wednesday or something like that. This is that. See, right.
So you're
if
back
this is where the quiz is going.
Is this where the quiz is going? We'll see whether this is where the quiz is going. Okay, so it actually did happen. We had like 3 separate sections. I think my dad slept in with my brother, my mum slept in with my sister, and I was in with my granddad. And you know how that is. You used to sleep in the same rooms as your nans and that.
Your nan?
Your nan.
Well, actually, your mum.
He also used to...
It was your mum.
Grab hold of the... It was... like there was a central pole now. He used to grab hold of it to hold himself up, and the whole thing nearly came down.
Central pole in a tent. Wow.
Yeah. In the front bit of it, yeah, there was anyway, whatever. It was canvas.
Old fashioned.
Question 2. On a camping holiday in the New Forest, the family went for a walk while our mum prepared and cooked our lunch. When we returned, the tent had caught fire and was partially melted.
Oh, this one I feel like might be true because this is coming from past knowledge. I feel like I've heard a story of Nan cooking food inside a tent, and you'll laugh about the fact that you don't do that. Is it true?
Right. It is true. Yeah, she was so upset. She was, but what it was, and exactly what we're talking about. We had the tent we've got hasn't got this, but the tent we had these sort of plastic windows. So literally like
and for people in different parts of the country, or just people that speak properly, windows.
We're going down that avenue, are we? Right, okay. So these windows, they look like windows, and they had like the lead sort of cross on them, sort of to make them look like windows. And
why are you saying it like that?
Because that's how you say it. That's what you say.
Windows.
Yeah, windows. Anyway, and she'd put the stove right up against it.
What's your name? George Formby. Windows.
Shut your face. And melted all the time, and it caught fire, and bless her. Anyway, 2 out of 2. Well done. These are obviously two.
Obvious.
Easy. Question 3. On a school trip, and after scrambling around the hills all day, we
rubbed your legs together
we returned to our tent to find it wasn't empty. In our absence, a sheep had wandered by, investigated, and decided to make herself at home.
That one could be true. That one could be. I'm gonna go for false, but it sounds funny.
It was in fact true.
It was true.
It was true, yeah. We came back and we thought, because there was other people camped, not where we were, other groups of people, but camped in the next valley. Now, we thought they were ransacking our tent.
Or a bear.
Yeah, because there was a lot of bears at that time. And we went in there, and it was, it frightened the life out of us. Because they're, to be honest with you, in a tent, a sheep in a tent, massive, right, and quite frightening. You don't know quite what to do, and it wouldn't come out. Anyway, question 4. You got that one wrong. Question 4. Whilst camping,
good story though.
Thanks. Whilst camping at the Reading Festival with friends, I went to sleep under cover of our tent, but was woken up hours later, some distance from my tent, by a motorbike being ridden past inches from my head.
You weren't in your tent?
No.
Oh.
I was in my tent, and then...
So you've either got out your tent drunk. Were you drunk?
No, I may have been. but I don't think I was particularly drunk.
So you either left the tent drunk or you were pulled out of your tent. Now, I've heard of your friends, so they tried to tie you to a lamppost naked in your stag do, didn't they?
Oh, yeah.
So,
but they're losers because I'm so much faster than them. I hurdled the railings and run off. There was police coming the other way. I wondered what the hell was going on. And I thought I was sprinting on my stag do, and I clearly wasn't, but they were so much drunker than I was. Yeah.
When you run when you're drunk, isn't it like you feel like you're going a million miles per hour?
Yeah, you're not. The video of it must be hilarious because I must think I'm going like the wind, right? But Usain Bolt like, and they're all staggering and trying to work out what had just happened. And I think I'm absolutely going like a bullet, and I'm probably staggering all over the place. But I got away from them and hid. Anyway.
I'm going to go for... I feel like I would have heard that one when I went to Reading.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to go for false.
That is, in fact, true.
True?
Yes. What happened was we
how do you always seem to come up with more stuff that I've never heard in my life?
Well,
I've known you for 24 years now. I don't know if you were aware of that.
Yeah. That particular story is part of the story where... That particular weekend is when I fell in... Well, there's two things you talk about. There's the fact that I went round the back of a tree to have a wee, and there wasn't anything at the back of the tree, and I went waist deep in the stuff they'd been pumping out the portaloos, and I thought I was going to die. And I managed to just about get... It was sucking me under, and I was just about to managed to get out of it. And the other one is when I was desperate to have a poo, and I'd gone into a long way off where the campsite was and into the trees, and as I'm... going, a girl walked through, just smiled at me, and then was doing the same thing about a few yards away from me, which is a bit off-putting. That was the same time as this happening.
But again, how do you have so much stuff that goes on that goes wrong?
Have you never met me before? Have you not experienced what I experienced?
It's a good point, because there's a lot of stuff like, for example, even just going on our most recent camping trip to Lake District, I'm sure most of the stuff that goes wrong happens to you.
Yes, exactly. But that particular one, I'll tell you a little bit background to it, if that's okay. No.
Okay, you can.
There was three of us, right? This might sound an absolutely incredible story, but there was me and my girlfriend at the time.
Does sound incredible. How'd you get
and
girlfriend?
her best mate, right? And the three of us were sharing a tent, right? So I drove, neither of them drove, so I was in charge of getting us there. I think my girlfriend at the time was in charge of getting like drink and whatever for us, supplies.
That's twice.
And the other girl, and I won't name him, but the other girl said, "Oh, my dad, he runs a scout. What's the name?
Camp Scout
group. That's the word I was looking for. He's got tents. He's got access to tents. I'll get a tent from him." Now, I'm not joking. Even this was 86 or 87, but tents were still fairly modern then. They'd actually took that leap. They weren't canvas anymore. When we pitched this tent, it was like a handkerchief with a couple of sticks that was holding it up, right? And whereas your tent's normally sealed, we had a floor and we had sides, but there was gaps all around. So I had actually rolled out. I wasn't allowed to sleep in between the two of them. So I actually had rolled out in the middle of the night.
Fair play, yeah.
Right, of the tent.
I think I've heard you saying you've rolled out of a tent before.
And then woke up as a motorbike just went past my head. Why someone was there with a motorbike mucking about, I don't know. But yeah, there we go. And I can remember coming back from, because you obviously go and see the bands and you're in a particular arena bit of it, you know, where it's all set up. I remember coming back and you're walking through all these taut, tight tents with all their things, and you can just see this little flapping bit of white in the distance. You think, oh God, that's our one, isn't it? But there you go. That's how I managed to roll out of it.
Camping at festivals is quite scary in a sense, because you go there early, because that's what we normally went. We got there early, get a good spot, and then you get the people that come there later and will fill in any little gap there is.
That is something that bothers me. It's better if you go, because I don't know why we did it. Perhaps because they were embarrassed about our tent. But we went, and there were other people we knew there, but they were in a different field to us. And it wasn't at a time where you couldn't choose. You just chose where you went. Nowadays, I think you...
No, you can still choose.
Oh,
well, at least the last time I went. But yeah, what we have to do is, if you go to a festival, it's a top tip for people. If you go to a festival and you go with a group of people, if you're making it like a circle, make sure you put something in the middle of that circle.
Otherwise, someone will put something there.
will
You'd end
put
up
their
looking
tent
at
there.
them
Maybe
all.
do a fire the night before or something in the middle, because people will try and go there. Another thing, and also when people are getting back to their tents drunk and stuff like that, you feel like they're going to trip or land on you when you're in your tent, or they're going to be up the side of your tent.
Well, when we went there, you parked. If you had a car, you parked by your tent.
Well, there was no getting that car out until other people left, was there?
No, we drove the car out and we went over a few, and I had the two girls walking either side, making sure I wasn't driving over people's tent. Because obviously, you've got people laying in there drunk, and you're driving a car right away from. And I had a big car at the time, this big Cortina thing at the time. And we went over a few guide ropes, but we managed to negotiate our way out of it. Unbelievable. Right, are you ready? Kick on? Sorry, I went...
Mental. You parked... Why didn't you just sleep in the car?
There was a period where I think we did stay in there for a bit, because obviously it rained, didn't it? Like it always does.
Oh, our ones, whenever I went, it was really hot. Let's carry on with the quiz, though. I don't even remember what question we're on.
Question 5 we're on now.
That was a long little
So
segue.
you got that one
Not
wrong,
segue.
Unfortunately. So you're 2 out of 4 so far. So see if you can
many
redeem
questions
yourself
are
in
there?
10.
Oh,
Question 5.
well, hurry up.
A friend of mine from school was incredibly miserable while we were on our outward bound trip, as he had never been away from his family before and was homesick. As luck would have it, on returning to our tent a couple of days into the trip, we found a sheep in our tent who agreed to dress in some of his clothes so he could go home and the teachers wouldn't suspect he was missing.
Oh.
Now,
Was that the same trip?
Before you answer, yeah, it's the same sheep. Before you answer, right, it had the same trip.
It's just one sheep,
It didn't
so it's
come on.
Shep.
Yeah, it wasn't the same. Yeah, we didn't go multiple times and the same sheep come and saw us. Before you answer, remember, a lot of the things you think aren't true end up being true.
Well, one thing there's a couple of things in this one. One, you seemed, even as you're reading it, seemed unsure. And 2, you said the sheep agreed to. Now, I don't think sheep can give consent. So, I'm going to say that's false.
Yeah, it is false. Question 6. Recently on a camping trip to the Lake District, it was so cold and damp that when I woke up in the morning, I had grown fur and developed gills.
Did you start running out of questions to ask?
Yep, that was a point where I started to lose interest. Right, okay. So we move on
True?
swiftly.
No, false.
False, yeah, well done. Question 7. Whilst at senior school...
You have got gills, but I don't remember there being more hair.
No. Whilst at senior school, my friend had an exchange student stay from Germany called Lutz. The 3 of us camped in my friend's garden, which was quite big, but Lutz didn't understand anything we said or tried to get him to join in on, and sat stony-faced in the corner of the tent. When it was time for Lutz to go back to Germany, it was fairly obvious that he understood and spoke English extremely well, but just didn't like us. True or false?
True.
Yeah, it's absolutely true. I don't blame him, really. We're idiots. But there we go. Oh, he was so miserable. It was unreal.
Really?
Yeah, it was so miserable. It didn't need to be that miserable. He could have been a little bit more...
What if Lutz is listening now?
Well, Lutz, I hope you've cheered up if you're listening now. I hope that experience was the last experience you had like that. Because it was certainly the last one I had like it. Right, question 8. Once at a camping holiday in Cornwall, my mum and dad had left myself and my brother back at the tent while they got a few supplies from the camp shop.
Supplies! 3
More
times.
likely going to the bar or bingo. True to form, no sooner than they had disappeared, my brother and I started to fight. It had started to pour down with rain, but I ran away from the tent and my brother to go and try and find my mum and dad. The campsite was right next to an air base, and as I ran round in tears in the pouring rain, the air sirens from the base started to go off. In my alarmed state, I genuinely thought it was the start of World War III, and by the time I reached my parents, I was inconsolable.
I feel like you might have camped near an airbase once before. Because I feel like I might have heard Nanny Joyce talk about it.
Nanny Joyce, giving away all my secrets.
I'm going to go for true with this one.
It is true. I didn't have any shoes on because we used
You
to have a
never
lot
told me
of
that
fights.
story,
Me
but
and my brother.
I think I heard you.
I was running
around
around in my socks, soaking wet in the rain, and the sirens went off. And as a kid, there was a lot we talked about before. As a kid, there was a lot of trouble with at that time it was the Soviet Union. There was all this threat of nuclear war and all the rest of it. And in my little brain running round, I'd actually thought something had kicked off like that, and I was beside myself by the time I got. My brother got really told off.
Yeah.
Much more told off than if I'd have just been, oh, Mick just hit me.
You got told off because you were inconsolable.
Because in such a state, yeah. Question 9. Whilst on a camping trip in Battlesbridge, Connor attempted to make himself some toast using the special toasting apparatus we had recently purchased. 2.5 hours later, he had managed warm bread, and a further hour on had managed toast you would get if toasters had a -6 setting on them. He surpassed the previous record for preparing toast, held by the French oceanographer Jacques Cousteau, who had attempted to make toast underwater in the mid-1990s. There is a definite pattern to... There's a definite pattern to the way these questions go.
Well, I'm going to say aspects of that story are true.
Yes.
But as a whole, the story's false.
Well, unbelievably, I've put false and in brackets kind of. I mean, it was excruciating you watching you.
It
trying
wasn't
to use
2.5 hours.
It was a long while. And it wasn't even toast by the end of it.
It was just warm bread.
Yeah, it was awful.
There
But
was a couple of slight
you are so
crispiness to it.
bloody minded with things that you will not. When we said, look, we'll leave it, don't worry about it. You weren't. There was no way once you started that you weren't going to sit there, even if it took you the rest of the day to actually get anything resembling toast. Unbelievable.
I tell you what, it had a slight warm outside and it was slight crispy outside, but as soon as you bit into it, it was just bread.
Sounds delicious.
But yeah, that aspect of the story is true. The person making toast underwater is not true, and the timing of that is not true.
Okay. Well, you got it right in a kind of.
So there was... Well, no, I got it right.
Well, I said false, kind of, so yeah. Question 10, this is the last one, and this doesn't involve me at all. In 1984, in Inverness, Scotland, a family were camping out in some very tricky conditions. Gale force winds and driving rain were battering their 4-man tent when suddenly the whole tent lifted and sailed off into the distance. It landed 2 miles away on an unsuspecting couple who were out hiking and were desperately looking for shelter. When the storm subsided and after some investigation, the tent's rightful owners were found, but it was only then when a local newspaper ran a feature on the story that it was revealed that the 2 families were in fact related, the men both being orphaned and separated at birth, but were unaware of each other's existence until that point.
So, a couple of things with that one. One, I love the fact that you just got to question 10 and you got, right, I can't think of anything for me now, so I'm going to put in another one that's something completely different.
Well, I haven't got an endless supply. Every now and again something pops up. Like, I'd forgotten all about that sheep coming into our tent, right? I don't know how, but because there's so many other things that happen, you forget about this sort of thing. But I'd got to the point where I thought, I'm only going to have to make up another story about me.
Yeah. I'm going to go for that one being true.
No, that's false.
Oh,
I made that. And
I thought maybe because it was a different family.
I've got to say, right, what happens with me? So very well, that is the end of my little quiz. I have to do that. When I do these quizzes, right, there is a definite pattern forming with it. And as you say, I start off and I've gone through, and there's questions. We're happy to know that was the only one of the question 1 that was kind of a bit flipped with moles and rabbits, wasn't it? All the rest of them was pretty straightforward.
Well, how many aspects of that last story were true?
None of it. I made it completely up.
Well done, though. It was very
But no.
good,
You say that, but then I read it back and I think, what's the matter with me? What? Like, I should look. Can I just, if we've just got a 1 minute, right, to do this, right? This says a lot about
King
me.
Charles.
It should have been. In 1985, in Inverness, Scotland, a family were camping out in some very tricky conditions. Gale force winds, driving rain were battered. 4-man tent when suddenly the whole tent sailed off in the distance and landed on another couple who needed shelter. That should have been that story, shouldn't it? Any normal person making up a story like that'd have been it. I go on to say that the newspaper got involved and they were separated at birth and orphaned, and then they met up.
One day,
yes,
I'll show you the graph of creativity, because that's not a bad thing.
Oh,
But you got to the point where it's just relatively normal. You got to the bit there, you just peaked over the creativity thing. It started to dip down again, and then you massively went up. So once you get past the normal ideas, then you dip past and you get to the fact is, not other people wouldn't think of that.
Well, actually, that's
quite
true. Because
creative.
question 6, I talked about having gills and being growing fur because I really had run out of what I wanted to say at that point. But obviously, perked up a little bit for questions 7, 8, 9 and 10. Anyway, I just wanted to point that out.
Yeah.
Did you enjoy that?
I enjoyed your little quiz.
Good. There'll be another one, I'm sure, at some point. What are we doing next week?
I've forgotten. We are filling the gap, Dad, while I look it up.
Oh, well, I know what we're doing. You know what it is? You know what we're doing?
Yes, I've remembered now.
Yeah, it's cooking.
Cooking, yeah. We're talking about cooking next week.
Cooking. Well, we're talking about cooking, but it's not just going to be us saying you
This
take
is how you
a
scramble an
tablespoon
egg.
of this and add to that. We'll talk about bits and pieces about disasters and successes when we've cooked, but also we're going to put a little menu on for each other. So we'll have a little taster for each other. We're going to try and make up original recipes.
Original dish recipes, yeah.
Yeah, ish recipes, and try them out as we're recording this, which could be quite interesting.
Yeah.
And I'm sure there'll be other bits and pieces that we normally do.
Yes.
Okay, well, that's me done for today.
Oh, you off?
Yeah.
Okay, you're done for today.
I'm done. That's
you're
it.
off
I'm done
home
a bit.
now, yeah?
Yeah, I'm off home. I'm off to change into my England shirt.
Yep, same.
Cheer on the boys a bit
Cheer
later.
off.
I'm really struggling to say sentences like just that one there.
Say sentences.
Sentences.
You were struggling a bit, weren't you?
Yeah, it was.
A little bit.
Okay.
But yeah, if you don't want to send anything, let us know. Want to send us a message, that can be done via email, contact us at fatherandsundays.com, or you can also do that on the website by going to the contact page. Website's a great place, fatherandsundays.com. You've got all the episodes available on there, but also you can get them on your chosen podcast platform, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Follow and like us and share us on those. And this week I would like to tell your dog's best friend's owner about us.
Okay. I'll be doing that straight after.
Yep.
Cool. Bye.
Bye. Bye.